Jungle.
Matters and its properties. Matter is anything that has mass and volume. It is invisible to the eye and composed of discrete tiny particles called atoms. Physical properties are characteristics that scientists can measure without changing the composition of the sample under studies such as mass, color, and volume. Chemical properties describes the characteristics ability of a substance to react to new form of a substance. State of matters are solid, liquid, and gas.
Atom. Atom is the basic unit of an element that can enter into chemical combination. They are made up of even smaller particles. These particles are protons, electrons, and neutrons. There are 3 rules for assigning electrons to the orbitals of an atom: Aufbau principle, Pauli exclusion principle, and Hund's rules.
Chemical bonding is defined as the force of attraction between 2 or more atoms that hold them together as a unit. There are 2 types of chemical bonds based on the types of atoms that form the bonds. First is ionic bonds. Ionic bonding is a bond between atoms of metallic and non-metallic elements. It is formed by the attraction to oppositely charged ions, cations, and anions. Second is covalent bonds, bonded atoms of both non-metallic elements.
Chemical reaction and chemical equation. Chemical reaction is the conversion of non-substance or set of substance into another. A chemical equation is the symbolic representation of a chemical reaction in terms of chemical. Chemical equation is the symbolic representation of a chemical reaction in terms of chemical formulas. Chemical composition often requires us to know the number of atoms, molecules, or ion in sample. A mole is defined as a Avogadro's number of particles. This number is used to convert between the number of a mole or a chemical substance and the number of formulas units in a substance.
Stoichiometry. Stoichiometry forms from a reaction if you know how many grams of reactant you have, or predicting the number of grams of reactant that will be needed to produce a certain amount of product.
The limiting reagent in a chemical reaction is the reactant that will be consumed completely. Once there is no more of the reactant, the reaction cannot proceed. Therefore, it limits the reaction from continuing. The excess reagent is the reactant that could keep reacting if the other had not been consumed.
Functional groups and structural isomerism. Organic compounds are the molecules that contain carbon atom covalently bonded to hydrogen. Organic compounds contain what is called functional group. Functional group is the structural unit in a molecule that characterizes a class of organic compounds and causes the molecule to display the characteristics, chemical, and physical properties of class of compounds. Isosomers are molecules with the same molecular formulas but different arrangements of atoms. Structural isomers, also known as constitutional isomers, one in which 2 or more organic compounds have the same molecular formulas but different structures.
A polymer is a long-chain molecule that is composed of a large number of repeating units of identical structure called monomers. These identical structures we understand as a unit made up of 2 or more molecules. Biomolecule, also called biological molecule, any of the numerous substances that are produced by cells and living organisms. There are 4 types of biomolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, and proteins.
At-home experiment and lab report. We did a simulation or experiment through online and it expanded our learnings, and we also learned how the experiment works. After the simulation, we will answer the following questions because this will prove that you have learned something on the simulation. We also did an at-home experiment so that students had an experience on experimenting in real life too.